How many times have you felt that your effort at the gym was not reflected in the mirror? You train consistently, dedicate yourself, but the results come slower than expected. This frustration is more common than it seems, and the main reason is not lack of effort but the way the body adapts. Every athlete, no matter the level, eventually hits a plateau. At this point, doing more of the same brings little or no return. What most people don't realize is that with a few advanced techniques, it's possible to break through these barriers and accelerate muscle growth again. These are not radical changes, but scientifically proven methods that increase efficiency in every set and repetition. Techniques that make your muscles work harder, without necessarily requiring endless hours of training. The difference is in how you stimulate them. And to help you take the next step, we've prepared an exclusive guide, created especially for those who want to overcome this phase and see real results. But remember, this material will be available only for a short time, and once it's gone, you might miss out on a crucial opportunity. The first principle that revolutionized my approach to dieting is calorie cycling. This concept directly challenges the rigid, all-or-nothing mindset that causes so many people to fail. The conventional wisdom tells you to hit the exact same calorie target every single day, without exception. But life isn't that predictable. You have social events, stressful workdays, and moments where you just feel hungrier. Forcing yourself into a rigid daily deficit is often a recipe for burnout and eventual failure. Calorie cycling, at its core, is about managing your calorie deficit over a longer period, typically a week, rather than on a strict day-to-day basis. This means you can have higher calorie days and lower calorie days that average out to your target deficit by the end of the week. This flexibility is not just a psychological relief, it's a strategic tool. It allows you to align your nutrition with the natural ebbs and flows of your life, making the entire process feel less like a restrictive diet and more like an adaptable lifestyle. Let's look at a practical example. Say your weekly goal is to maintain a 3,500 calorie deficit, which equates to about 1 pound of fat loss. The standard approach would be to create a 500 calorie deficit every single day. With calorie cycling, however, you have options. You could eat at your maintenance calories on the weekend, when you're more likely to socialize, and create a larger deficit of around 700 calories on weekdays when your routine is more controlled. This strategic planning can be incredibly powerful. For instance, you could align your higher calorie days with your most demanding training sessions. This practice, often called nutrient timing on a macro level, can improve your performance in the gym, leading to better muscle retention during a cut. By fueling your body when it needs it most, you're not just managing hunger, you're optimizing your body composition. You're telling your body to use those extra calories to build and repair muscle, rather than just storing them. Furthermore, this approach provides a built-in mechanism for damage control. We've all been there. You have an unplanned dinner out with friends and end up consuming far more calories than you intended. With a rigid daily mindset, this one slip-up can feel like a total failure, often leading to a what the hell effect where you abandon your diet for the rest of the week. This is a critical psychological pitfall that derails progress. With calorie cycling, that single high-calorie day is no longer a catastrophe. It's just a data point within your weekly average. You can easily compensate for it by slightly reducing your calories over the next few days. This isn't about punishment, it's about balance. You simply adjust the plan. Knowing you have this flexibility removes the immense pressure and guilt associated with social eating, which is a massive factor in long-term adherence. The scientific literature supports this flexible approach. Studies comparing continuous energy restriction to intermittent energy restriction, which is essentially a form of calorie cycling, have found similar outcomes in terms of weight loss and metabolic markers. For example, a 2018 meta-analysis published in the International Journal of Obesity concluded that intermittent restriction was as effective as continuous restriction for short-term weight loss. The key takeaway is that your body primarily responds to the total energy balance over time, not just within a 24-hour window. This gives you the freedom to design a plan that truly fits your personal preferences and social calendar. Do you prefer to eat more on weekends? Plan for it? Do you have a weekly team lunch you don't want to miss? Account for it in your weekly total? This level of personalization is what separates a diet you can tolerate for a few weeks from a nutritional strategy you can sustain for a lifetime. It's a paradigm shift from restriction to strategic management. So how do you implement this? Start by calculating your total weekly calorie target. Multiply your daily maintenance calories by 7, and then subtract your desired weekly deficit, say 3,500 for 1 pound of fat loss. This number is your weekly calorie budget. From there, you have complete freedom to distribute those calories throughout the week in a way that best suits your schedule and preferences. You could have 2 higher days, maybe on your heaviest lifting days or on the weekend, and 5 lower days. Or you could have 1 refeed day where you eat at or slightly above maintenance, followed by 6 days in a deeper deficit. The specific structure doesn't matter as much as the weekly average. This empowers you to take control and make the diet work for you, not the other way around. This principle is about more than just numbers. It's about building a resilient mindset. It teaches you to think in terms of weekly trends rather than daily fluctuations. Your weight will naturally fluctuate day to day due to water retention, food volume, and other factors. By focusing on the weekly calorie average, you learn to ignore this daily noise and focus on the long-term signal of consistent fat loss. It also helps in breaking the cycle of perfectionism. The fitness industry often promotes an unrealistic ideal of perfect adherence 100% of the time. But life is messy and unpredictable. Calorie cycling acknowledges this reality and provides a framework to navigate it successfully. It's a system designed for real humans living in the real world, not for robots in a lab. Ultimately, adopting calorie cycling was one of the first major steps I took toward making fat loss feel effortless rather than agonizing. It removed the psychological burden of daily perfection and gave me the confidence to handle any social situation without derailing my progress. It's a tool that fosters consistency through flexibility, and that is the true secret to long-term success. The second principle that fundamentally shifted my approach is moving to fewer, larger meals per day. For decades, the fitness world has pushed the idea that you need to eat 5 or 6 small meals throughout the day to stoke the metabolic fire and prevent muscle breakdown. This idea has been so pervasive that many people feel anxious if they go more than a few hours without eating. However, this concept is largely based on outdated bodybuilding dogma rather than robust scientific evidence. When we look at the research, the picture becomes much clearer. The supposed metabolic advantage of high meal frequency is a myth. The thermic effect of food, which is the energy your body expends to digest and process what you eat, is proportional to the total number of calories consumed in a meal, not how many meals you eat. Whether you eat 2,000 calories spread across 6 small meals or in 2 large meals, the total thermic effect for the day will be virtually identical. A landmark meta-analysis published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition by Schoenfeld, Aragon, and Krieger examined this very topic. They compiled the results of numerous studies and found no significant difference in fat loss or body composition changes between high meal frequency and low meal frequency diets when total daily calories and protein were matched. This is a crucial finding because it liberates you from the logistical nightmare of constant meal prep and eating. For me, this was a revelation. I used to be that person carrying around multiple Tupperware containers, meticulously planning my day around 6 separate eating windows. It was exhausting and socially isolating. Switching to just 2 or 3 larger meals per day simplified my life immensely. It freed up mental energy and time that I could then dedicate to my training, my work, and my relationships. The psychological benefits are just as significant. When you're in a calorie deficit, spreading your limited calories across 6 meals often means that each meal is small and unsatisfying. You finish eating and still feel hungry, constantly looking forward to your next tiny portion in 2 hours. This creates a state of perpetual low-grade hunger and food focus, which can be mentally draining and increase the likelihood of binging. Conversely, eating fewer, larger meals allows each meal to be substantial and truly satiating. Imagine sitting down to a large, voluminous plate filled with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. A meal like that provides a powerful feeling of fullness and satisfaction that a small snack simply cannot replicate. This can dramatically improve your overall adherence to the diet because you spend more time feeling full and less time feeling deprived. This approach is often associated with intermittent fasting protocols, like the 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours and eat within an 8-hour window. While you don't have to follow a strict fasting schedule, adopting a similar structure of 2 or 3 main meals can be incredibly effective. For example, I often skip breakfast, have my first large meal around noon, and my second large meal in the evening. This structure works perfectly with my lifestyle and training schedule. Some people worry about muscle loss when they go for longer periods without eating. However, the fear of muscle catabolism from short-term fasting is largely overblown. The body is incredibly efficient at preserving muscle tissue, especially if you are consuming adequate protein overall and engaging in resistance training. The anabolic response to a protein-rich meal lasts for several hours, and as long as your total daily protein intake is sufficient, your body will have the resources it needs for muscle repair and growth. Think about it from a practical standpoint. If your daily protein target is 180 grams, would you rather have 6 small 30-gram protein servings that leave you wanting more, or 2 massive 90-gram protein meals that leave you feeling completely full? For many people, the latter option is far more sustainable and psychologically rewarding. It transforms dieting from a chore into a more enjoyable experience. This isn't to say that eating more frequently is inherently bad. For some individuals, particularly those with massive calorie needs like professional strongmen, or those with specific digestive issues, spreading meals out might be necessary. But for the vast majority of people aiming for fat loss, the freedom to choose a lower meal frequency is a powerful tool that has been unnecessarily demonized. The key is to find what works for you. If you genuinely enjoy eating 6 small meals and find it helps you control your hunger, then by all means, continue. However, if you feel burdened by the constant need to eat, I strongly encourage you to experiment with reducing your meal frequency. Try consolidating your calories into 3, or even 2, main meals for a week and see how you feel. You might find, as I did, that it not only simplifies your life, but also improves your relationship with food. It allows you to experience true hunger and true satiety, rather than living in a state of constant grazing. This can help you become more mindful and in tune with your body's signals, which is a critical skill for long-term weight management. By breaking free from the outdated dogma of high meal frequency, you can design a nutritional plan that is not only effective but also enjoyable and sustainable. It's about reducing complexity and increasing satisfaction, 2 key ingredients for staying on track and achieving your fat loss goals without sacrificing your sanity. This simple shift can make a world of difference. Alright, so this next principle is honestly more of a mindset shift than a specific tactic, but it's probably one of the most important things for long-term success. Learning to accept that feeling hungry is a normal and unavoidable part of being in a calorie deficit. We live in a world of instant gratification, right? Any feeling of discomfort, including hunger, is seen as a problem we need to fix right away. But honestly, that mindset just doesn't work with fat loss. When you're consistently eating fewer calories than your body burns, your body's going to send you signals to eat more. That's just a natural survival mechanism. Hormones like ghrelin, sometimes called the hunger hormone, will go up, making you feel that empty stomach and that urge to eat. Trying to totally eliminate this feeling, it's not only impossible, but it actually sets you up for failure. The goal isn't to never feel hungry, it's to learn how to manage hunger without letting it run your life. The first step to managing hunger is just to acknowledge it and sit with it for a minute. Instead of instantly grabbing a snack, pause and recognize, hey, this is just a sign my body's in a negative energy balance, and that's exactly what you want for fat loss. If you can reframe hunger as a sign of progress instead of an emergency, you can start to break away from that panicky need to eat. Of course, this doesn't mean you should be suffering all day with raging hunger. That's not sustainable either. The key is to use some smart tools to keep hunger at a tolerable background level. One of the best tools? Fluid intake. A lot of the time, our brains mix up thirst and hunger. So before you decide you're actually hungry, try drinking a big glass of water or even a 0-calorie drink like black coffee or tea. Coffee especially can be a pretty powerful appetite suppressant. Not only does the caffeine give you a little energy boost, which is super helpful in a deficit, but it's also been shown in some studies to temporarily lower ghrelin and reduce hunger. Having a cup of black coffee in the morning can make it way easier to push your first meal later in the day, which fits perfectly with eating fewer, bigger meals. Another big strategy is to focus on foods that are super filling per calorie. Foods with a high satiety index. Usually these are whole, unprocessed foods that are high in protein and fiber. Protein is the most filling macronutrient. It takes longer to digest and really impacts appetite hormones more than carbs or fats do. That's why every meal during a fat loss phase should be built around some kind of lean protein. Fiber is awesome too. It adds bulk to your meals without adding a lot of calories, slows down digestion, and physically fills your stomach, sending those "I'm full" signals to your brain. Veggies, fruits, beans, and whole grains are all great sources. Like, a big salad with grilled chicken is way more filling than a candy bar with the same calories. Building your diet around these high-volume, nutrient-dense foods is honestly your best defense against crazy hunger. It's also super important to spot and break those conditioned eating habits. A lot of times we eat not because we're actually hungry, but because of cues in our environment or how we're feeling. That's what I call mental hunger. For example, do you always eat a snack while watching TV? Or grab a pastry every time you walk past that coffee shop? Those are just habits, not real hunger. The first step to breaking them is just noticing them. Then, you need to swap out the behavior. If you're used to snacking while watching a movie, try a cup of herbal tea instead. If you're stressed and want to eat, go for a quick walk or listen to some music. By messing with the cue reward loop, you can unlearn those habits and make sure you're only eating when your body actually needs it. Learning to tell the difference between physical and mental hunger is a skill. It takes practice. Physical hunger builds up slowly, you feel it in your stomach, and pretty much any food will satisfy it. Mental hunger or cravings come on fast, are focused on one specific food, like pizza or ice cream, and you feel it more in your head or mouth. Figuring out which one you're feeling can save you a ton of unnecessary calories. By accepting that mild hunger is just part of the process, you take away its power. You stop seeing it as a failure of willpower, and start seeing it as a normal, expected side effect. That lets you approach fat loss with way more calm and control. You know you've got the tools, water, coffee, high protein and fiber foods, to keep hunger manageable. In the end, mastering your response to hunger is about building mental toughness. Discomfort is often the price of growth, both in the gym and in your nutrition journey. When you can sit with a little hunger and know it means you're on track, you unlock a whole new level of freedom and control with your diet. Just to be clear, you shouldn't be starving. If you're constantly ravenous and can't function, your deficit is probably too aggressive. But learning to tolerate and manage the normal mild hunger that comes with fat loss is a must-have skill for anyone who wants to get lean and actually stay that way. It's honestly a real game changer.